Hi, today we are in Berlin with Wunderdata. Richard and Mike, who are you and what do you do?
We're three founders. We founded Wunderdata a year ago, and we are basically developing business intelligence software for online shops.
Please tell us a little bit more about your background. What did you do before you started this company? And what made you switch from being an employee to starting your own company?
So I'm a software developer for around 10 years. And actually when I was 17, I started doing a bit of freelance work. And then with 18, I started my first startup. Back then I didn't know it was a startup. I thought it's just a small company. And we had venture capital, even though I didn't know I called it like that. And well, we did it for some years. We did music downloads with MP3s, and it was back in 2005, so long before Apple did that and stuff. But when Apple switched to MP3s in 2007, we kind of failed. Mm-hmm. And then I worked as an employee for some years up until last year when we started Wunderdata.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You, Richard?
I worked for four different online shops so far, and Mike has also a lot of experience, also Stefan, that's the third founder, in e-commerce. Mm-hmm. And what we realized there, what was the glue or the learning out of it was that it's very important for online shops to work data-driven, but at the same time it's very hard to work professionally. Data-driven with a professional online tool, because all the solutions on the market are either self-built or in the enterprise field. Which both is very, very expensive, takes a lot of time, several months until you can deploy it, work really with it, and it takes a lot of knowledge to work with it. Every developer can code some SQL queries, but to build a scalable, flexible data solution, it's a whole other game. Yeah. So what we realized there is, hey, we can do it better. Mm-hmm. So we founded Wunderdata.
Okay, great. And tell us a bit about how this business model works of Wunderdata. I mean, it's a subscription or SaaS model, but tell us a bit more about what the software is really doing, what the data output looks like, and how you try to store the data in this data warehouse.
So what we basically do is we create data warehouse for the customer, an individual one, and we try to identify data sources for the customer which are relevant. Of course, the base is always the online shop in our case, and very important is web tracking like Google Analytics or WebTrack or whatever. And then it's often about getting all the different costs. Like if you have marketing, you want to know what you spent on AdWords and what you spent on Xanax and etc. And you want to know logistic costs, for example, returns, what you pay for that and stuff like that. So we bring all that together in one big data model, mm-hmm. and we connect everything with each other. So that's a big difference to a lot of other BI vendors, is that we are not totally generic, but we know what data we have and what it means. So it's not like a number, we know what it means, and that's where you can interconnect it. And then we are able to, for example, filter globally. So I can say I only want to look at a certain customer cohort, and I want to see what brands they bought. I can bring everything together, and I can try to find correlations between different data which you normally not look together at one point. So that's the basic idea.
Okay, understood. Assuming you would have all the clean data and access automatically to all the data sources, are there different types of data sources? Like one of this Google Analytics, etc., is quite easy to extract, but maybe there's some other data, like from logistic cost or specific other marketing or offline expenses that I generated that I might put in manually in a other system or so. How do you extract this data and put it into the data warehouse?
Of course, we love APIs, so whenever it's possible to get it through an API, we get it through that. We can use direct database access. If you have an ERP system, for example, we can connect directly to the database if you allow us, mm-hmm. and we try to find the data we need. And we can also use like spreadsheets, for example. So if you have like once a month, you give us payment correction costs, something like that. You just put it in a spreadsheet and we import it and then calculate it down on each order and stuff like that. So we're pretty flexible. As long as it's structured data, we can use it.
But the API or the crawler or whatever, you would need to develop once.
Right, exactly. Okay. As soon as we have a new data source, we connect it and then we have it. It's a bit more work if it's completely new data. Like I can exchange analytics with WebTrack. That's pretty easy. It's something totally new, then we have to integrate in the data model and see where are correlations and where do we need to put links and stuff like that. But normally it's pretty fast.
Understood. Okay, so it doesn't take that much time.
No, normally not. I mean, new API, if we know the data, it's about a day or two. we have to integrate in the model. It's maybe 4 or 5 days, but then it's gone.
But it's only once, and for the customer, it's always only several minutes of effort.
Sure, understood. No, I'm just thinking about, on one hand, you have this subscription model where you have something like 200 to 1,000 euros a month, for example. But on the other hand, if you are not charging for the individualization and it takes 3, 4, 5 days, it's additional cost you would have to incur that you need to cover over a longer period that the customer is paying you money.
Mm-hmm. But what we saw in e-commerce especially is that's a very homogenic market. So 40% of all online shops using Magento, for example.
Yeah.
Like more than 80% are using Google Analytics. So we don't really have a lot of variance there. So
okay, that's good.
Yep.
In terms of differentiation to your competitors, I mean, there are a lot of BI softwares and analytical softwares coming out over the last 2 or 3 years. What makes you unique?
Because we specialize in e-commerce, we've prepared a huge amount of analysis and dashboards for you. So you don't start with a white paper where there's nothing on it, but you have a functioning system which you can just use. So you just get your account, you log in, you can work with it. Not only the BI expert who knows all the data, but also the intern, for example. You can get access to his parts here that he needs, and he just sees the KPIs which are important for him. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing. Then this global filtering, no one can do that except from the very generic SaaS systems we currently have, because it's so generic that you don't know that this order has to do with this customer. And we know it's an order, it's a customer, so we can do the link. Okay. You have to do that by yourself in a lot of systems. We can do it automatically. Oh, okay. So it's just, we connect you and it's working and it's 100% there.
And nobody else is doing this kind of global matching?
They all do a very generic system. So that needs, of course, if you have relational data, it's pretty easy to match them. But for example, Magento is not very relational. So it's a lot of crazy tables. And if you put it in a very generic system, you have to do a lot of work in order to make it work. And with that, it's different because we understand Magento, we understand the data model, we can just do it automatically.
Okay, understood. So as I understand, you have different target groups you want to offer your service for, like startups like Amorelie or Lizara. Are there any other or specific criteria for selecting a target group for you?
We can connect every shop or shop-like system which is transactional based. So it doesn't matter what you sell, shoes or events or something. It would everything would work. And from how big the customer is, it doesn't matter whether it's a startup or a big online shop. We can do it technologically. We have a high-speed database, but from the sales approach, we are more targeting the smaller and not the enterprise field, because there are a lot of big, strong players, and the sales cycle itself is just longer. So at the moment, yeah.
Okay. And how do you acquire those customers?
We have different acquisition channels. One is very classical, it's just direct sales, calling over the phone. One is content marketing, we're trying out, we're building educational content, especially like what are the best KPIs for e-commerce, etc. Something interesting for...
Like a blog or...
Yeah, kind of white papers, blog, And the third channel, which is interesting, which we are working at the moment, are multipliers, like for example IT agencies. A lot of them asking us because they already have e-commerce customers. They're building the shop system for them, but they get often asked whether they can also build a business intelligence solution, but it's a whole other field. It's not their core competency, so it's very interesting to work with them for us.
And is this based on a revenue share model? Or how
yes.
Okay. Do you also have an affiliate model or something like that?
Not yet, but if you refer a customer to us, we can work something out.
Okay, great. Okay, tell us a bit more about your future plans in terms of is the product really finished, never will work on it for years, or is there something, especially you, Mike, that you would love to work on in order to create more value for customers?
So, well, first of all, of course, it never stopped that new shops pop up or new APIs we could connect, so that's always a thing we can invest time in. I think there's some stuff to do on the front end. I mean, we are 3 founders, 2 technical founders, but we are both back-end developers. so it's not as beautiful as it could be. There's definitely potential. Also some pretty normal front-end functionality like comparing charts, stuff like that. We have some technical debts, we know about them, and we know there's stuff we need to do in order to make it really, really good. And we're working on that, but it takes a bit more time, maybe some expertise from the outside. And it's about automatization, of course. We want to automate more stuff. Right now, it's, as I said, technical debts are there, so not everything is 100% automated, and we're currently working on that, on becoming better and faster, that we parallelize more tasks and can rebuild your data warehouse faster and stuff like that. There's a lot of potential to optimize, but the product itself is usable and is used every day, as Richard already said. So,
imagine I'm a client of a BI analytics software, and now you are pitching me, Martin. We would like to offer you our software, Wunderdata, and then I will ask you, okay, how hard is it to switch to your product? Do I need to change anything, or do I just need to pay the money and that's it? All the rest will be done, or I have my past data, I have all the APIs working, and also from day one.
The effort on your side would be very limited to a few minutes. We just need to connect the data source, but it's work on our side or it's automated. And then you would start already with a working business intelligence solution. So you wouldn't need to train or your employees how to use the tool, how to build the reports, etc. Especially when it comes to more complex KPIs like customer lifetime value, cohort analysis, etc. That's already there. So you really could just implement a tool within a few minutes, and you could start working with it.
Okay, great. Let's talk about how you want to pursue creating the competitive advantage. I mean, I totally understand that you have this more specific kind of worldwide framework for matching different data sources and creating value out of that, which others don't have because they only have the generic model. Is this something that is the core value of your software, or is there something else you would like to develop for creating value to shop owners?
It will go even further in automating the whole experience, not only in terms of informations, data, but also a little bit broader. I can't go into it too deep, but what we believe is that if you want to implement a data-driven culture in a company, and we believe this is very, very important, it will grow more and more, then you need a tool which is super easy to use, so everyone from CEO to intern can really use it from the first minute. And then, only then you will have a really data-driven culture, and you won't have any presentation meetings with some bullshit storytelling. You will only look at the data and then make the right decisions.
What is a typical lifetime of a customer? So assuming I'm subscribing to your service, how many months am I typically a user of your service?
Statistically speaking, for eternity, because no one churned so far.
Okay, wow.
That's very good. But on the other hand, we are a pretty fresh startup, just launched several months ago.
Yeah.
So,
if it keeps like that, that's awesome.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, great. We always try to share some insights and advice to first-time entrepreneurs. What would be your, let's say, top one or two advices that you could give first-time entrepreneurs so they make less errors?
I think one important thing, especially in B2B, is not to underestimate the amount of time it takes to close a deal. Because in B2C you can test out very, very fast a feature or your whole product. In B2B it can take long. We built a product which is way multiple times faster implemented than the current products on the market, but it doesn't mean that the sales cycle will shorten at the same degree. So I think this is one of the learnings we had.
Okay. Any other learnings in terms of product development?
In general, you can say everything takes a bit longer than you think. I mean, it's not only B2B cycle, it's everything, raising money, and I don't know, everything you cannot influence directly. You can't rush it. You just, as soon as you're dependent on other people, it's always like you have to wait, and they have other stuff to do, and it's weeks and months sometimes. So that can be frustrating if you then don't plan with it in the beginning. You think, okay, we do this, and that takes a week, and then we're done, and it's not like that. As soon as you're not the only one involved. Yeah. So that's something that we really learned kind of like the hard way, to be honest, in the first month. And it's frustrating sometimes.
Okay. But right from the start, your product was calibrated with a product market fit, or was there also some kind of iterative process where you learned through the way what the customers really wanted, and how did you approach that? Some learnings about that?
Yeah, we built a prototype which worked, which was not perfect, but had the basic functionality we wanted to build, and then we brought in first customers to learn from them. And their feedback it's very valuable because you don't see all the stuff they do, and then we knew the ways to do it at fab.com, for example, but then some stuff Amorelie did different, and like Lizara is maybe it's more focused on sourcing than Amorelie on marketing and stuff like that. So you can learn from the first customers very much, and you have to really integrate them and get the feedback fast, and then move fast and adapt it to them.
Okay.
So, but yeah, that was very good.
Great. So, Mike and Richard, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks.